guys, welcome back. Here's me, that is Zahira Yahya, with student ID number 2500004005. And here's a video of me reading news for Phonetics and Phonology assignments. And I would like to read a news from Peter Windsor again. With title, A 95-year-old religious leader in custody. South Korea crosses a line. Ooh. And again by Massimo Introvigne. An elderly man who devoted his life to faith is now treated as a public menace. Why is that? The arrest of Shincheonji founder Lee Man-hee, or E-Man-hee, age 95, marks a moment that no civilized democratic country should ever reach. A non-violent religious leader of such advanced age is taken into custody as if he represented as a threat to society. International human rights norms, including the United Nations Standard Minimum Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners, or the Mandela Rules, and the principles articulated by the UN Working Group on arbitrary detention, require that the detention of elderly individuals be a measure of last resort and proportionate to the alleged offense. The arrest of a man approaching 1 century of life for actions that involve no violence violates these standards. Authorities claim that Lee compelled tens of thousands of Shincheonji members to join the Conservative People Power Party, or PPP, to influence primary elections. Korean media report that the prosecutors allege a coordinated plan, codenamed Pilates, through which followers were enrolled in the PPP and their membership dues paid on their behalf. They also claim that was intended to reward former President Yoon Suk-yeol, then a candidate, for a supposed leniency toward Lee during the COVID-19 investigations when he was Prosecutor General. The narrative collapses under its own weight. Lee did not receive any leniency. He was jailed during the COVID crisis despite his age, and only through the full judicial process, including the Supreme Court, was he eventually acquitted of all pandemic-related charges after judges reaffirmed that their independence from political pressure. The present arrest is even more disturbing because Lee has been cooperating with prosecutors. Korean reports confirm that he appeared for questioning, walking with a cane, and submitted to the procedures required of him. There's obviously no risk of flight, and after so many raids, nothing remains to alter or conceal. The charges themselves criminalizes the ordinary civic participation of citizens who happens to belong to a religious minority. Shincheonji members, like all Korean citizens, have the right to join political parties and support candidates. International law recognizes that members of unpopular or stigmatized religions retain the same civil and political rights as everyone else. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights protects both freedom of religions and the right to take part in public affairs. The arrest of Lee should be viewed alongside the prolonged detention of a Unification Church leader, Hak Ja-han, who is 83 years old. The ruling party is also promoting a law that would allow the government to dissolve religious bodies whose leaders have been sentenced for criminal offenses or for political interference and confiscate their assets. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, wait. President Lee Jae-myung has repeatedly spoken of eliminating that he calls heretical religions. His political allies among the certain left-leaning clergy have enthusiastically supported them, and their involvement in political advocacy does not appear to be under investigation. The state is constructing a system where religious minorities are exposed to punitive measures whenever their existence becomes inconvenient. The questions that once tormented souls now extends its reach to the bodies of elderly leaders, whose frailty becomes a tool in the hands of prosecutors who seem determined to see them remain behind bars and perhaps die there. The spectacle of 95-year-old man being led into detention under accusations that criminalize the political choices of his followers is a stain on South Korea's democratic credentials. A society that respects human dignity does not place its oldest religious leaders in chains for non-violent allegations. A legal system that honors international norms does not treat civic participation as criminal conspiracy. A democracy that values pluralism does not target communities because their beliefs are unpopular. The arrest of Lee Man-hee, like the detention of Mao Han, is more than a judicial action. It is a warning sign, and the world should pay attention. Since I already read you about Massimo Introvin in the previous video, so I will not read for another same biography about him. So I'm going to read one more news. I'm going to read you this one. An urgent humanitarian appeal concerning the case of Konstantin Rudnev. This one is by Peter Winter. Jail detentions may endanger the life of the Russian dissident of spiritual teacher. 2. Ministerio de Justicia de la Nación Argentina, Ministerio de Seguridad de la Nación Argentina, Oficina del Presidente de la Nación Argentina. Your Excellencies, the undersigned human rights organization wish to renew the concern we have previously expressed regarding the case of Konstantin Rudnev, a Russian spiritual teacher, a dissident whose persecution in Argentina continues to raise serious factual, procedural, and human rights issues. We understand that the Court of Cassation has revoked his house arrest and ordered his return to prison, pending a forensic medical examination intended to assess his current health condition. We respectfully submit that this decision, if implemented without full consideration of Mr. Rudnev's deteriorating physical state, may expose him to grave and potentially irreversible harm. His medical fragility is well documented. The prolonged periods of detention and the repeated interruptions of medical care and the cumulative stress of the judicial process have left him in a condition that cannot safely withstand incarceration in high security facility. A transfer under these circumstances could prove fatal. While we reiterate our long-standing doubts regarding the evidentiary basis of persecution, our appeal today is strictly humanitarian. We urge the competent authorities to halt any transfer to a penitentiary environment that will endanger witness lives. Argentina has a proud tradition of respecting human dignity and the right to health. We ask that these principles guide the decisions taken in this case. We also draw your attention to the recent physiological study published by scholar Raffaella Di Marzio, which examines the conduct of prosecutor Fernando Arrigo, who is responsible for the Rudnev case. Her analysis identifies behavioral patterns consistent with an obsessive and disproportionate prosecutorial posture, raising legitimate concerns about the impartiality and the professionality of his actions. These concerns are not limited to Mr. Rudnev's situation. Prosecutor Arrigo is actually currently facing significant criticism for his handling of the case of Mapuche leader Facundo Jones, where similar issues of excessive rigidity, prolonged preventive detention, and disregard for humanitarian consideration have been reported. The convergence of these patterns across unrelated cases suggests a structural problem that cannot be ignored. In light of this, we respectfully request that the authorities consider removing Prosecutor Arrigo from the Rudnev case to ensure that future decisions are made with the neutrality, balance, and respect for human rights that the Argentine justice system is committed to upholding. Our organizations remain available for dialogue and cooperation. We trust that Argentina, in a nation with a strong constitutional and international commitment to human rights, will take the necessary steps to protect the life and dignity of a vulnerable individual whose health is rapidly declining. We thank you for your attention to this urgent matter. Respectfully, signatures, and etc. And I guess that is all. Thank you. I'm sorry for a lot of messes, a lot of typos. Not typos, but slipped off. Okay, that's all. Goodbye. See you in the next video.